You just start on up. I'll take care of this.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so ergonomics is optimizing your work area. It comes from Greek, ergon meaning work, nomoi meaning natural laws. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit as I go through this presentation about biomechanics. Bios also from the Greek, and mechan for mechanics, bios meaning life. The basic definition for the layperson is making things feel comfy properly. Okay. So, there are 5 self-assessment tools you can do in order to optimize your ergonomics. The first one is monitor distance. It should be somewhere between 18 and 28 inches. In order to get the correct distance, you should sit in your chair, sit back, put your arm length out, and then adjust it for your best vision. One of the ways to adjust it, we're going to be talking, I'm going to demonstrate also. Whoops, I'm untangling myself around you. Is you can use or request one of these risers for your monitor. It should be just around, the top of it should be just around eye level. That way you're optimizing that aspect as well. You should also try to optimize your wrist position. You want your wrists to be level. If you're at a standing desk, it should be, or sitting in a chair, you should be parallel with the floor. So, in order to get parallel with the floor for wrist position, you either raise your keyboard or you lower your chair. And some of you have to get used to your chairs because I see you just take over somebody's chair and stay there. Adjust it to your height no matter what chair you use. That other person will adjust it back. Also, adjusting the lip of your keyboard can be done easily by attaching the bottom lip, and we have plenty of those as well. It could be this way or it could be flat, whatever is most comfortable for your hands, as well as being ergonomic. Remember, you're trying to strive for both comfort and ergonomics being proper. The next thing is your feet. Where are they? At the ends of your legs. Anyway, it should be flat on the floor or supported. Now, when I say supported, we also have around the building, or if we need to order, these are footrests. Your feet should be elevated a little bit if you're sitting in a chair and your legs are dangling. You don't want pressure on the backs of your knees. Your ears, where are they? No joke on this one. They should be aligned with your shoulders and your keyboard and monitor. In other words, part of the show and tell today is my new mini office. You should be completely aligned with everything. And your ears being aligned with your shoulders is not this way, okay? It's the vertical alignment, top down. Then you'll take a quick inventory. And see what is in contact with your chair. The things that should be in contact with your chair, your lumbar should be against the lumbar support. Your glutes, also known as your butt, should be on the seat. And you should have your head back against the headrest. Now, if this is too far back, you adjust your chair so that it's more upright and that it's resting against your head. One of the best people I see around the building is if you walk down this hallway that way, you often see Larry sitting against his chair in perfect position. So he's a good example to use. So make sure your lower back is supported with your quick inventory. And the back of the knees should not be under pressure. Some of you may have shorter legs. Your knees are pushed all the way up against the chair here, and the knees are pushed up against the front of the chair. And basically, you don't want that to happen because that cuts off circulation. And unless you're a fan of varicose veins, think they're sexy or something, you might want to avoid having your legs pressed up against the chair. Risk factors. There are 4 risk factors. The first one is repetitive actions. The first one is repetitive actions. The first one is, oh, I'm sorry. The second one is awkward positions. The third is contact stresses, and the fourth is visual fatigue. I'm going to go through each one of these as through the next few slides. For repetitive actions, you want to change it up. You don't want to do one particular thing for more than 30 to 50 minutes. You want to get a break somewhere every hour. You want to move around. So if you have a task where you're at your computer, make sure that maybe you have a meeting. Set up meetings at different times of your day so that you can be able to break up your day. Also, you want to minimize your after work wear and tear. Minimize doing the same work task at home. If you're spending 6 or 8 or 10 hours on a computer, the last thing you should do is go home and spend 6 or 8 or 10 additional hours at the computer again. And I know for some of you it's hard to get you to not do that. You have to take those breaks. Maybe play ping pong. And watch your sports and workout regimens, okay? Make sure that if you do have any problems going on with you, neck pain, low back pain, wrist pain, that you're not going to work out in the same manner that would affect those areas and cause an exacerbation of the problem. And stretch, and oh yeah, stretch. Okay, and I know how some of you feel about this. It's not that scary, okay? Stretching is actually going to help you out in the long run if you do it on a regular basis. And just as a shameless plug, we do stretching here 10 times a week. Starting next Monday, it'll be 11:45, as we have done for a while, and we're going to make it 3:45, because it's my understanding a lot of people have meetings at 4, so now you don't have an excuse. You can come in here at 3:45, we can grow the class. And this coming Tuesday, a bunch of people who've done stretching for a long time will be all coming together, so you can see that it's actually not a group of just 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 that you see regularly, but that there's like 10 or 12 or 15 of us, and that we actually do have a big group. But if you're one of these people, sitting like this improperly, these bad postures, you definitely should be stretching and exercise more. I see some people out there have already pointed out which ones they are. Okay. Awkward positions, the next one. Okay, now, the awkward positions, I want you to understand that you should be strengthening your back at all times. It isn't just about stretching. So please try reverse butterflies. Now, this one is a participation one, so if you'll put your food next to you, as many of you as would, please stand up. You didn't think I'd let you get away without participating, did you? Okay, this one is a reverse butterfly. I'm going to not use the mic. Basically, you just lean over a little. You're not doing a full plank. You're leaning over a little. Put your arms square in front of you. Bring them out to the sides. When you get here, squeeze your shoulder blades up, and then let them back down and come back forward. Now do that 2 more times.
And make a bird sound.
Yeah, make a bird sound. Okay? If you do 25 of those a day, thank you very much for participating. If you do 25 of those in the morning when you get up, you're going to start strengthening your rhomboids and your middle traps. And what's going to happen is that your shoulder blades are going to get closer together, and you're going to have a natural upright position, so that you won't have to go, oh, well, I hate sitting upright like in the chairs here. You'll start slouching, but if your muscles are strong enough, you don't get as fatigued. And that's the goal, to be able to sit up straight when you're wherever you are sitting. Also, you can do side bends. Side bends helps the side of your core in the back. What you do when you do a side bend, a lot of people, they just flop forward to one side, and then they let the opposite side pull them back up. You want to squeeze down the side that's going down, contract those muscles in order to strengthen them, and then come back up. Okay? Don't toe touch while standing. Now, I know there are a lot of exercises that involve motions towards your feet. That's different. I'm talking about just straight toe touches. Okay? The 2 reasons are because your hamstrings are in a state of contraction, and then you're reaching for your toes, which is stretching your hamstrings. To contract and stretch at the same time is counterproductive. The other thing is, they've done studies where the low back, at a minimum, is taking 4 to 5 times your body weight and pressure. So if you're, let's say, a 100-pound person and you're touching your toes, you're doing between 400 and 500 pounds of pressure on your back. So take care of your back. You cannot replace it, at least not yet. Don't twist and or lift things. If you're sitting in a chair and you have a book or a magazine or something you need to reach for, turn in your chair, reach down, pick it up, and then put it on your desk. You don't want to do the twist and pick up because that's putting your back into awkward positions. The other thing is, the twisting also comes to play when you're reading copy and typing. We do have these, we order them. They go on the side of the monitor here, and you can clip up to 30 pages into here, so that your vision is going from page to the screen, as opposed to sitting there with your head in this position, because then I will probably see you and you will come to me and say, I've got a headache, I don't know why. And you'll be reaching for that side of your neck that you're doing this all the time with. And don't reach too far for things. I've seen a lot of people at their standing desks. Let's say the standing desk comes to here. Here's your mouse, way over here. It's not a real mouse. It won't bite you. You can pull it closer. You can have it in this position next to you. But having it way out here, you're putting extra stress on your triceps and extra stress on your upper traps, Getting tangled here. Okay, and remember, proper posture comes from proper mechanics. Not those mechanics, body mechanics. Okay. Awkward positions, part 2. Now I do know that some of the classes you take outside of here, some of the things you participate in, the awkward positions are okay. You can be a little awkward, because sometimes those are the positions you have to be put into in order to properly use your body to its fullest capabilities. Now, in your cubicles, I have seen some awkwardness as well. Now, I really don't understand how some of you work in your cubicles, but I'm amazed at the work that you get done when you're like this. But lastly, the kitchen. It's very awkward when I go in to get something out of the fridge. I don't know whose department she's in, but please tell her, this isn't cool. But here we are at the true awkward position. This person is going to lose the proper curvature of the spine. The spine is like a shock absorber. It's supposed to have specific curves and specific locations. When it straightens out, imagine having straight shocks in a car. That doesn't work. This person is losing their neck curvature here. They're going to get a curve back here, which may also get the fat pad or the dowager's hump. This person also may suffer from breathing problems because their rib cage is being compressed, as well as their diaphragm in here, and the abdominal contents. People who sit like this oftentimes also have digestive issues because of the way they sit. Also, they're losing their curvature on the low back because all this weight going forward, the spine is actually trying to straighten itself out here to hold the person back from collapsing forward, and then this curve gets lost. And additionally, by leaning forward, this person is putting more pressure on the backs of their legs, giving them those varicose veins I talked about earlier. Ergo chair varieties that we have. This is our standard ergo chair, the one I was sitting in demonstrating it. And they keep building more every day, and hopefully, eventually, everybody will have a nice ergo chair. We also have the ball chairs. These are good for people who, even if you don't have that great a balance, because it forces you to use your core and your legs to keep the balance, and the pressure on the back of your legs is a lot less, and the pressure on your low back is a lot less. So these are available on an as-need basis. And they're pretty good, but they're not good for standing chairs. I don't picture anybody standing on one of these and trying to balance. And lastly is the Kneeling chair, okay? Kneeling chair, be careful if you're gonna use this, that your knees are not what's being pressured, but that you slide your legs up a little and allow your shins to be what holds you in place. This is a good kind of chair also because it forces you to sit upright much more often. And if you have long enough feet, you can kind of push yourself forward and stuff like that, okay? And lastly, if you also need additional lumbar support, we have these available so you can add to that lumbar that you need, because not everyone is built the same. Part 3, contact stresses on our hands and our wrists. A lot of people need to make sure that they get a good mouse pad, okay, with a nice good cushion on it. I also recommend, we are getting more of these, but these are very good mouse. They're vertical mice, left click, right click, back scroll. It's very simple to use, but you put your hand in the correct position and then you don't have the stress on the front of your hand there. The stress on the wrist that occurs for some people, especially people at standing desks, is they put the mouse too far away and then they lean their arms on the counter itself. Same thing with their keyboard. They may be typing, but they're typing with their wrist on the desk itself. So either you get a cushion or you bring the keyboard closer to yourself in order to avoid possible carpal tunnel or a possible nerve impingement on your wrists. Visual fatigue. Okay, this is one of the last of this is the last one of those 4. For instance, does this picture look blurry? It is. Okay, so in order to avoid having that picture look blurry for real, you don't want to let it get to that point. You want to keep things on the same visual plane. Like I said, when you're typing and reading down, your eyes actually have to readjust to distances instead of having the paper right next to your computer screen and then just going across. Your eyes don't need to adjust as often or as much. Adjust your monitor distance. We already spoke 18 to 28 inches. That gives you quite a bit of leeway. I mean, I would not, if I had short arms, it has to be closer. Long arms, further. But also make sure it goes with what your eyes prefer, okay? And last of these, adjust your monitor reading size, okay? A lot of you, I see at your computers often, see this Zoom section here? Okay, you get a document and they put a bunch of fine print on it. But instead of going to a Zoom and enlarging it so you can read it, you get to the edge of your chair and you lean forward and you read for 5, 10, or 15 minutes all this little print. You're compromising yourself, you're damaging your vision, you're damaging your neck, you're damaging your back. Why bother doing that when you have these devices on your computer that just enlarges them? Okay, sit back, enjoy. Enjoy your work. Back to the slideshow. Now what? Ask. Proactive prevention is better than reactive solutions. I am willing to come by anyone's desk and do an entire ergonomic evaluation, work on adjusting things and figuring out what you need at your desk to optimize what your comfort is. Okay? Commit. Decide to start taking these small steps that lead to the larger successes. The better your body is, the more the nervous system is working correctly, the more your blood flows correctly, the better your body performs, your mind performs better also. And that's pretty much what most of you are here for. It's because you have such great minds, you want to optimize that. You want that blood flow, you want that inspiration to come, not because you're out of shape or because you're not sitting in the correct position. Okay, so think about that as well. Get a buddy. Many of you sit across or next to somebody that you're friends with or friendly with, and you can look at each other and just give yourself some kind of secret nod when you're slouching. You know, like if you're really looking bad and I'm having a terrible day, you know. Oh, okay, and then they'll sit up and maybe they'll feel better and smile at the goofy faces you make as well. Okay, support is essential. We're here to support each other. And then just do it, okay? Quick review. Okay, optimal sitting at a desk, document holder, everything is in alignment, lumbar support, no pressure on the back of the knees, footrest, arms level, and monitors at the correct distance. With a standing desk, everything is pretty much the same from the waist up. You're just not sitting, but you can also get a footrest, and you can alter from one foot to another with a footrest to give yourself a break on that. Those of you who have crank desks, also that's great. You can stand or sit, and then just make sure you're optimizing for both. Yes?
Hey, could you print out a big version of this and put it up in the hallway next to the bathrooms?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, I know someone who can help you.
Awesome. I look forward to that. And Vecna Wellness, your resources that are here, myself, for a lot of the ergonomics and a lot of the physical stuff that goes on. Benefits, Maria, back of the room. Resources that are ordered as needed, that would be, you could ask me and then I'll go ask Meg, or you could ask Meg directly. And those are the footrests, monitor stands, keys, boards, mice, desks, chairs. And the keyboard, don't forget, are mandatory.
Actually, a lot of that stuff you can just ask the sysadmins, or hopefully you don't have to, because they are only rolling out ergonomic keyboards, and in terms of the mice, those are the things that they can still provide, they have available, and they should be able to provide you with. So as far as the extra stuff like footrest if you need it, if you tell Joseph, there's a good chance he can just get a count of how many people are interested, and that's when I can just put it in order and we can make sure you have what you need to be comfortable.
Thank you. Excellent. I like teamwork. And lastly, remember, we're a company trying to help others get better health. We should do the same for ourselves. You know, better technology, better world, better health, better lives. Remember, if you need anything to make your workspace more ergonomic, please let us know. No reasonable requests will be denied. Final points. You are like athletes. Most athletes minimally work out 4 to 6 hours a day. You folks are at your computers or in meetings, which is also sitting for at least 6 to 8 hours a day. So you are athletes in my eyes. Stretch, exercise. Have Yugu pop up for no reason.
Just signed off.
And also optimize at home. As much as we can do here, you know who you laptop jocks are. You leave here, you go home, and then you come here and tell me, oh yeah, you know, been in my bed, doing computer work, or you have your computer laptop at your kitchen counter or kitchen table, and you're not optimizing anything. So think about it at home as well. The better you are, the better we are. Q&A time. Yes?
I had 2 questions. I actually came a little late, so maybe you already answered my first one. Is there any kind of recommendation for standing to sitting ratio time in a day? And the other one was on the visual one. You didn't mention anything about lighting, and I'm wondering if there's probably some minimum amount of lighting for reading that's helpful for not stressing your eyes.
Okay, the first question, I have not seen anything on the internet, but I can do the research to see if there's any conversation onto how to split it. I, for right now, say, you know, do what is comfortable. If you get tired of standing for a long while, crank down, sit down if you have a crank. You know, do what your body is telling you to do. The second thing on lighting, that is a slightly more difficult issue because of how everything is constantly changing. But again, that is another area that I would have to actually do the research for you specifically. And this goes for any question that anybody has at any time. If there's something that you want me to research, I'll do it. That's not that related to ergonomics and software. Okay, I'll do that research anytime and come up with the best answer. Someone recently asked, you know, bicycling versus running. what is the ratio? So it took, 10 Google pages, and I found a proper site to say, okay, this is how much you have to bike to equal how much you actually run. So I will find that out for you. Yes.
Well, I'll answer the lighting thing. Generally, with this lighting on the distribution, we're probably at about 70 to maybe 80 foot candles in this room right now. If you're using your monitor and you want to decrease the lighting to reduce glare, you could probably get down to as low as 30. Feel dark to you. But even when you're using the monitor, you should have some background lighting so that your eyes aren't always focusing on only the screen.
Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate that. Let's see, a team effort here. I love that. Next presentation, I will stand here and do the clicker. Any other questions? Oh, that's very good. Thank you, John.
What is the ratio of bicycling to running?
What do you mean,
There-
like caloric, sort of burn, or?
They were going in the best web of all the ones I saw. The best one was talking about caloric, but they also said, well, if you're doing this many RPMs, it equals to this. And it does this many RPMs. So the higher your RPMs, it's different in running. They said running stays fairly steady, whether you put more effort or less effort for the same distance. Whereas bicycling, the more effort you put, somehow you burn more. So it was a nice, I could post that on the wellness page. I'll just put a little sign on there that says, here's your a good website to look at for the ratio. Your question?
Yeah. Quite a few of us have standing desks that aren't cranked yet. I guess it's a double-sided question. Will we be getting those soon? Or if not, can we get raised footrests?
Footrests are easy to get to, but the crank desk, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, as far as I understand, as parts come in, they're getting built. So I see that if you put your request in for a crank desk, that it will eventually most likely be met.
Yeah, in fact, our intention is to ensure that everyone who's interested in a crank desk, which we'll assume is everyone, will get one. And we're making sure that as soon as we can get all the tops finished and get them back, we're rolling them out as quickly as possible. And I know that most of you who are standing at static standing, there's more of a risk for worse ergonomics than those of you who are sitting and can adjust your desk or your chairs. So we're trying to take the Craftsman static standing desks and repurpose them for some of the workbench areas that are asking for them first, to make sure that those of you who are maybe not as tall can be comfortable. And we'll work on making sure the rest of you are comfortable too in due time.
And in the meantime, if you guys want to just send me an email saying you want a footstool resting like the one I showed you, I would gather the numbers and pass that also to make an order. And that way you can at least take some of the ergonomic stress off yourself. Yes?
You didn't mention anything about keyboard trays. I'm curious about that a little bit. I found that they help to get the keyboard down low enough so my arms can be straight, and also sort of then my desk can be a sort of like writing height instead of typing height.
Okay.
So there's like two sort of heights that people usually work out. Like usually writing's a little bit higher up, right? Because you're trying not to crank your neck down too much.
Right.
Would it be useful to have keyboard trays too, or?
The problem I found with keyboard trays, and this is from old desk, not the crank desk. Once we have crank desks everywhere, you're going to see that that becomes less of a need, because you could just crank up and down what you need for the height for either keyboarding or writing. But I noticed that oftentimes a lot of the desks that have those keyboard trays, people's arms, you can vary 20 degrees up or 20 degrees down. They say parallel to the floor, but they have that small range to go. But most people, when they typed low, their wrist was hyperextended, and they were getting problems simply because everything was too low, the mouse was too low. So I'm not personally a fan of keyboard trays. I'm more of a fan of what we're doing here, which is the crank desk, which eventually, like she just said, would most likely be everybody having a crank desk, and that should resolve a lot of the height issues having to do with the keyboard.
Right. So,
You can certainly get one if you want.
okay. So, for me, like, I feel like the desks actually don't go quite low enough. Like, I always kind of have to raise my shoulders up to type. So, should I actually then raise my chair and then get a footrest? Just
Raise your chair, get a footrest, and if this is on your keyboard, take it off. These things pop off real easy, and that'll flatten your keyboard a little more so you can be able to get the right position.
Okay, thanks.
Someone had a question over here? Saw a hand half up.
Yeah, I had a question.
There we go.
Yeah, the footrests, are they for standing desks or sitting desks?
They can be for both. You can put your foot on one at a time. You wouldn't stand on it with both.
And that's okay or good?
Yes, that is okay to alternate your feet because we have natural imbalances in our body. We have a dominant and a less dominant side. And so we tend to get more fatigued on one side. So it's okay to switch. The problem comes in is if you stay standing in one particular way for too long a period of time, which some people do as well. And that's why they may have low back issues or hamstring issues because they're standing like this constantly and they don't switch. So a footrest was very helpful for both standing and sitting. Any others? Going.
It's extra food. That's all. That's all I have to say about that.
How do many buttons do I push? Do I push it once?
Sure.
Just hit stop. Oh.